His second question here. I was watching the King of the Ring 1995 on the WWE Network, and given how it's probably the worst pay-per-view in company history, how would you rebook the tournament, and who would you have had win it instead of Mabel? That's a good question. I thought about this a little bit. I would have had Shawn Michaels win, and then go on to beat Diesel for the title at SummerSlam. Shawn was gone for about 2 months. They did an injury angle after the first Diesel-Shawn match at WrestleMania that year. That's when Sid turned on Shawn, basically turned him babyface. Diesel came to help out his old buddy. So he was gone for 2 months. King of the Ring was his first show back. He came back as a babyface. He was over as a babyface on day one. He wrestled Kama in the first round, and they go to a draw. Now, I think Razor Ramon, I could be wrong about this, I think Razor was supposed to be in the tournament, but he wasn't. Maybe he got hurt. Savio Vega was in there. Savio Vega was like the Iron Man in this tournament. He wrestled like 4 matches that night. Because I think he first had to wrestle a qualifier that night because Razor was injured. So he qualified, and then he had 3 more matches. So Savio took his place. But had Razor been able to go, I would have built up to a finals match that night between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. Now, they ended up having that second ladder match at SummerSlam, but I would have done a face-versus-face match with them on that show, with Shawn going over, and then meeting his big buddy Diesel at SummerSlam. You know, Shawn was over, Diesel was not. He was a bomb as champion. You could say, was it Kevin Nash's fault? Was it WWE's fault? Hey, WWE, they put the title on him for a year. They pushed him as their number 1 guy. The only thing I could say about that is that they didn't have very many good opponents for Diesel. I will say that much. Now, the idea here with Mabel, I guess, was to try to make a monster heel. So you could say, well, they tried. Their intentions were good. But he just wasn't the right guy. But they just did such a piss-poor job of building up any credible heels in 1995. It was terrible. Think about the big heels that year. Sid and Mabel. And Shawn for a little bit at the beginning of the year before they turned him, but Sid and Mabel. That's it. That's it. SummerSlam was headlined by Mabel. Sid wrestled Diesel a couple of times on the pay-per-views in between. The main event of that King of the Ring show was an awful tag team match. It was Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow against Tatanka and, Tatanka and Sid. Awful. Survivor Series that year was another face-versus-face match. It was Brett versus Diesel, which was the same match they did at the Royal Rumble. There were no real credible heels on the roster that year. That hurt Diesel. So I don't know if that's something he's brought up in interviews before, but if he has, he's got a point. He didn't really have a whole hell of a lot to work with that year. But he was a bust as the champion. I would have had him drop it at SummerSlam, and you could have gone one of 2 ways with it. You know, they have a competitive match, they shake hands when it's over, then you take a few months, you build to Diesel turning on Shawn, maybe getting jealous of his success or whatever. Or you could have just done the turn right then and there after the match, like they did with Diesel and Brett at Survivor Series. Either way, that's how I would have handled it. I know it's a couple of babyface versus babyface matches. You do Shawn Razor in the finals, you build to Shawn Diesel. You know, it's kind of odd, there's no heel there, but like I said, they did such a piss-poor job of building heel challengers up that year. I think that would have been the way to go because Shawn and Razor and Diesel were 3 of the top guys on the roster at that time. And maybe Diesel wasn't as over as the other 2, but Razor was still pretty popular. Shawn was very popular. I know they built the whole thing with Shawn, you know, WrestleMania the following year, the boyhood dream, blah, blah, blah. I think a Diesel-Shawn main event at SummerSlam, a rematch, right, from WrestleMania 11, with Shawn going over, would have been the way to go there.